Stoicism and narcissism are two seemingly disparate concepts that, when examined in the context of relationships, offer profound insights into human behavior and coping mechanisms. Stoicism, an ancient Greek philosophy founded by Zeno of Citium, emphasizes the development of self-control and fortitude as a means of overcoming destructive emotions. It advocates for focusing on what is within one's control and accepting what is not, thus promoting resilience and inner peace. Narcissism, on the other hand, refers to a personality trait characterized by grandiosity, a constant need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. When these traits manifest in relationships, they can lead to a toxic dynamic where one partner manipulates or undermines the other for self-gratification. Understanding these concepts is crucial for grasping how Stoicism can help victims of narcissistic abuse. Victims often feel trapped in a cycle of dependency and emotional turmoil. By embracing Stoic principles, they can reclaim their sense of agency and emotional autonomy. For instance, practicing the Stoic technique of premeditation of evils, where one visualizes possible adversities and considers rational responses, can prepare individuals to face a narcissist's manipulative tactics with clarity and composure. Additionally, the Stoic emphasis on distinguishing between what we can control, our thoughts and reactions, and what we cannot, the behavior of others, can empower victims to break free from the narcissist's influence. Real-world applications of these concepts abound. Consider the case of a partner who constantly criticizes and belittles their significant other. Through Stoicism, the victim can learn to tune out these criticisms by understanding that they reflect the narcissist's issues, not their shortcomings. Another example is a victim dealing with gaslighting, a form of psychological manipulation where the narcissist tries to make them doubt their reality. Stoicism teaches the importance of trusting one's perception and reasoning, helping the victim maintain their sense of reality. Supporters of Stoicism often argue that its teachings offer timeless wisdom for personal empowerment and resilience, even in modern complex relationships. However, some critics argue that its emphasis on emotional detachment may be misinterpreted as promoting a lack of empathy or emotional suppression. Others suggest that Stoicism might not fully address the deep psychological impact of narcissistic abuse, and that professional therapy could be necessary. Ultimately, the integration of Stoicism into the context of dealing with narcissism highlights a pathway for personal growth and liberation. It connects to other aspects of self-improvement and relationship dynamics, encouraging individuals to foster an environment of respect and mutual understanding while safeguarding their well-being against manipulative behaviors. Understanding the emotional dynamics of narcissistic relationships involves recognizing the complex interplay of emotions and behaviors within these relationships. Narcissistic relationships are characterized by an imbalance, where one partner, often displaying narcissistic traits, prioritizes their own needs, desires, and self-image over their partner's well-being. This dynamic can lead to a cycle of manipulation, emotional dependency, and even abuse, where the narcissistic partner seeks constant validation and control, while the other partner may feel devalued, confused, or trapped. The significance of understanding these dynamics is paramount when exploring how Stoicism can aid victims of narcissism. By comprehending the typical patterns and tactics used by narcissists, victims can better apply Stoic principles to detach, gain clarity, and regain autonomy. Stoicism emphasizes emotional resilience, mindfulness of the present moment, and the distinction between what is within our control and what is not. This philosophical approach can provide victims with the tools necessary to navigate and ultimately transcend the emotional turmoil often associated with narcissistic relationships. In a real-world context, consider a scenario where a partner consistently belittles their significant other to uphold their own ego. With a Stoic mindset, the victim could recognize this behavior as a reflection of the narcissist's insecurities rather than their own inadequacies. By focusing on their internal values and self-worth, the victim can find strength and perspective. Another example might involve a narcissistic partner using emotional blackmail as a means of control. Employing Stoic disciplines, such as maintaining emotional equanimity and setting clear personal boundaries, can empower the victim to resist manipulation and prioritize their own mental health. Supporters of this approach argue that Stoicism provides a robust framework for fostering self-assurance and resilience, enabling
enabling victims to manage their responses and regain a sense of agency. However, potential challenges exist. Critics may contend that Stoicism alone might not be sufficient, especially in severely abusive situations, where professional intervention is necessary. Others might argue that it could be misconstrued as a means of passively accepting or tolerating mistreatment. Understanding the emotional dynamics of narcissistic relationships is crucial, as it lays the groundwork for applying Stoic principles effectively. It underscores the importance of agency, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence, elements essential to breaking free from a narcissistic partner's grasp. By integrating Stoicism, victims can cultivate inner peace and strength, influencing other aspects of their lives and bringing a holistic approach to healing and empowerment. Core Stoic principles, acceptance and control, are fundamental tenets that can significantly aid victims dealing with narcissism in relationships. At its essence, Stoicism teaches us to differentiate between what we can control and what we cannot. Acceptance involves recognizing the limitations of our influence over external events and other people's behavior, while focusing control on our own thoughts and reactions. This is particularly significant for those entangled in relationships with narcissistic partners, as these dynamics often involve manipulation and emotional distress. By adopting a Stoic mindset, victims can learn to accept the narcissist's behavior as something beyond their control, concentrating instead on their responses and emotional resilience. The importance of these principles in relationships with narcissists cannot be overstated. Narcissists often seek to dominate or invalidate their partners, leading to significant emotional turmoil. By implementing Stoicism, victims can reclaim their sense of agency, acknowledging that while they cannot change the narcissist, they can control their reaction and maintain their inner peace. For instance, if a narcissistic partner blames their victim for personal shortcomings, a Stoic approach would encourage the victim to assess the criticism objectively, accept that they cannot change the narcissist's perception, and focus instead on maintaining their self-worth. In another example, consider a scenario where a narcissistic partner undermines their partner's achievements. A Stoic response would involve recognizing the partner's need for superiority as outside one's control, while choosing to feel proud of one's accomplishments, regardless of the narcissist's attempts to diminish them. This not only strengthens the victim's emotional fortitude, but also reduces the narcissist's power to manipulate. Support for these ideas can be found in the writings of Stoic philosophers like Epictetus, who taught that individuals should accept circumstances beyond their control and focus on personal virtue. However, challenges to this approach might arise from interpretations suggesting that acceptance could lead to passive tolerance of
abusive behavior. Critics might argue that such acceptance could discourage victims from taking necessary steps to protect themselves. Additionally, some might argue that Stoicism's emphasis on emotional detachment might not suit everyone's emotional healing process. Despite these critiques, acceptance and control are interconnected with broader strategies for dealing with narcissism in relationships. By mastering these principles, victims can enhance their resilience, improve emotional boundaries, and better recognize when they need to take decisive action to safeguard their well-being, thereby fostering healthier interactions within the turbulent dynamics of a narcissistic relationship. Developing emotional resilience through Stoic practices is a method by which individuals cultivate inner strength and stability to withstand external challenges and emotional disturbances. In the context of dealing with narcissistic partners, emotional resilience becomes a crucial tool for victims to maintain their sense of self, recognize harmful patterns, and respond constructively in the relationship. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy founded in Athens by Zeno of Citium, emphasizes the importance of virtue, rationality, and focusing on what one can control, which offers valuable strategies for building this resilience. The significance of emotional resilience in the context of dealing with narcissism cannot be overstated. Narcissistic partners often exhibit manipulative, dismissive, and emotionally draining behaviors that can profoundly affect a victim's mental well-being. Stoicism teaches individuals to develop a mental fortress, equipping them to endure such behaviors without allowing their sense of self-worth to be diminished. By fostering resilience, victims can better protect themselves from the emotional turmoil typically generated in these toxic relationships. One example of a Stoic practice is the exercise of negative visualization, which involves imagining potential adversities or losses.
This practice can prepare individuals for the emotional challenges posed
by a narcissistic partner, helping them react more calmly and clearly when faced with conflict. Another practice is the Stoic principle of dichotomy of control, where individuals learn to differentiate between what they can control and what they cannot. In a relationship with a narcissist, understanding that one cannot control the partner's behavior, only their response to it, can be empowering and liberating. Stoic ideas have garnered support from modern psychologists and philosophers who argue that these practices can enhance mental health and emotional stability. However, challenges to this perspective include the critique that Stoicism may promote emotional suppression rather than emotional processing, potentially leading individuals to ignore rather than address underlying issues. Additionally, some may argue that the detachment advocated by Stoicism could be misinterpreted as indifference or passivity. Ultimately, emotional resilience developed through Stoic practices not only helps individuals cope with narcissism in the present, but also influences other aspects of their lives, such as personal growth and healthier future relationships. By practicing emotional detachment and focusing on personal virtue, victims can transform their experiences into opportunities for personal development, reinforcing their autonomy and confidence in various relational contexts.